Hello and welcome today in Ukraine. We are with a fighter you already know, Khan, a Frenchman who is involved in the Ukrainian intelligence service. And now we're going to tell you about a mission in which, I don't know, it's in the grey zone, it's
That's it served you as...
a target to set a trap for the Russians. Put like that.
It's strange, but yes, that's what it was. So you...
Have a mission where they tell you during prep that you'll be bait.
Don't tell us like that, they tell us directly. Because here we're totally in other areas, so really we can work in a lot of different areas. And so they tell us, look, there are Russians here. But the whole tree line, it's a tree line that was, I think, more than 3 or 4 kilometers in total. We didn't know if there were Russians inside. And they had old positions, so we knew there were some positions inside. And so the goal was actually to gather as many troops as possible, to see what forces were there, what reserves the Russians had in that area. And then if we could eliminate them, the problem was that we were going in with a very small force, with Ukrainians as well.
What do you mean by a very small force? We were
6, including
the Ukrainians, who aren't as well trained as you. So no, they
were reconnaissance guys who served as our guides and did a great job. I cleared positions alongside them. The goal was to move as quickly as possible and then to show the Russians that we were there and directly. So in the morning they didn't spot us because we did what we call jamming. The Ukrainians did some Mavic jamming, so they jammed the whole area. No Ukrainian or Russian Mavics or other drones could fly due to electronic warfare.
Ukrainian prevented any operation. Okay, they did it for
our mission, that's what we had asked for. And they provided us with this tool that really helped us with the infiltration. Just in case, we aimed to make as much progress as possible and reach the first position. We attacked the Russian position, we cleared it out, then we moved on to another one and continued advancing. The problem is that on the second one, we got a bit stuck because we had the Russian position.
There aren't any Russians inside. Actually, there aren't any Russians inside. That position, abandoned. It was too...
exposed somewhat.
Something like that. It was big, but...
not solid enough, you could say. So it was very hard to defend. So we moved forward, but the issue is entering an area with thermal signatures, especially inside bunkers. And the reticle stays on it, so there are guys inside. They have a rifle.
They have a scope that they've put on a PKM, which is a big assault rifle with a thermal reticle. Funded by Team Berlioz, the system is sensitive enough to detect people even inside bunkers. And so here we
had a confirmed signature. We knew it wasn't an animal because everything was red and the reticle stayed on it. An animal would have fled since we had fired shots to check for a response. The Ukrainians also did a very good job on this mission. We cleared it with grenades, and in the second bunker there are thermal signatures. We fired with the Vistral Oskolochny Granatomyotny Russian Soviet grenade launchers, hoping the guys would come out. None of them came out. I was the squad leader on this mission, so if I sent one of my guys, there was nothing left for him to take cover behind. We knew there might be Russian snipers on the right, so I told him to stay calm. We returned to the old, much larger position we cleared, but it was very hard to defend. And then we're going to stay there. We're going to wait for orders from command. At that moment, they stopped jamming the Mavics, which were quickly sent back up, providing aerial views on both sides. Right away there are Russians, 2 or 3 at a time, who start coming in on the other side of the tree line to try to come face to face. They're close to us, where they heard the gunshots, things like that. And so we realized that actually right in front of us we have constant coordination with the Ukrainians. They do a great job, so they always have their eyes on us. And we also have our snipers from our unit, not Ukrainians who worked on the same mission, but our own guys who were directly covering us across the whole sector in a difficult area. They did a good job too, with some results I think, but we'll have to wait for confirmation. But actually, the Russians were starting to advance little by little. We stayed, because they knew
that you were there. So now they know there are people in front of them, so they're trying to make contact with you. They think there was an assault. They thought that we
were an assault group, because we were, even though it's
just recon usually. But here we're
really in recon mode, and above all, the Ukrainian drone operators. So they started working on the Russians with FPVs, dropping grenades on them and so on. But what was complicated was that we also got hit by FPVs on our side, and the Mavics that dropped grenades. But the thing is, they dropped thermobaric bombs on us. At that moment, we actually took shelter in a bunker. We had radio issues, so I set up a remote antenna, but the Russians destroyed it right away. We had a guy who, so in the end we had to evacuate him. And then we're going to make small retreats actually, piece by piece, to actually let the Russians come in. And actually we could hear them on the radio too. We did it on purpose because we knew the Russians actually knew our radios, our frequency. They were listening there, they knew everything about our communication, and so did we. That's why we tried to speak in English, give false directions, things like that, to actually lure them to certain points. Actually, you speak in English.
Even though you have a radio that can speak Ukrainian, why do you use English? Because
when English speakers hear English, we know Russians have direct translators for it. But directly, actually, they send the charge, you know, they send a lot of men. They're really trying to wear trophies, actually. Their propaganda promotes violence.
The Legionnaire, for us, we are NATO forces.
Believes that it's NATO that is...
Yeah, damn, you're NATO, representing them in Ukraine. So, really important thing, you speak English to be detected, so the Russians target you. Yeah. For this particular mission?
Yes, again, the level of...
The what the fuck factor is high, but it works.
Fact, when you have an eye in the sky, what we call a bird, so a drone that's constantly watching over you and protecting you, we're not necessarily worried, even though sometimes it's quite worrying, because we don't always know everything that's happening in front of us. And we might have people sneaking or crawling toward us watching from a bunker, but we had Ukrainians who did a really good job, who really protected us in the sky, and who always gave us directions. How far away were the guys? The goal was to attract as many Russians as possible. And we saw that, in fact, at first, the first Russians were very poorly equipped. There was even a Russian who was sitting all alone, unarmed actually, and who was just observing. He was just calmly smoking a cigarette. And at the rear lines, the beginning of the weapons line, where the Russians were infiltrating, we had guys, when we came back from the mission, they told us, there you had guys who were really well equipped, scouts. Basically, our term scout means someone with really, really good equipment. Maybe it's Spetsnaz, we don't know yet. Maybe Spetsnaz, maybe. But you can see that they had...
Night vision binoculars, goggles, and monoculars.
From what the guy who was at headquarters told me at that time, they had good vests, bulletproof, magazine pouches, quick release, so pretty decent gear. It was planned, you chose
to stay, so they would send that, because behind it you had the goal of killing them one way or another. Or maybe it's fine, they're here now, let's try to get the equipment. No, the goal is to
actually attract and pack them as closely as possible along these converging tree lines. So they're as close to us as possible, then we can move out. What's close?
What is it? Close, maybe. We have
found ourselves. They were 70 meters away from us, really a good distance for a firefight. Yeah, no kidding. But the problem
is that the
position was tough to defend because it was built by the Russians and was solidly constructed. Yes, and then turn towards your side.
In a way, yes, and then everything. In fact, there was no...
It wasn't just the position, it was actually in the middle of bushes. Anyway, there are 6 of you.
The base, yes, it was pretty tough. So at
that moment, we decided, let's go, let's get out of here. And at that moment, the Ukrainian drone operators did a masterful job. They blew things up, that's all they did. They also sent Baba Yaga, a large drone, after them.
Can carry 20 to 25 kilos, so it can drop charges, anti-tank mines, for example, which will be dropped directly vertically onto the trench. It's really the sound of the...
death. When you hear it pass by, it sounds like a mini helicopter, but you really hear death. 2 days there. And we are...
2 days, and then...
You hear them dropping the bombs. You can already hear the trigger when they drop the bombs, and really a piercing sound. And so actually, there you go, they gathered... We know that the Russians, we were in constant contact on the radio. We know that the Russians had entered the position we had left. Then Baba Yaga hit, left, refueled, and returned. There was gasoline in the position too, so everything burned. They also threw gasoline, I think, on the elite units in the back, threw gasoline. You're talking about the...
Thermite, important detail. As you knew you had, the Russians were gathered in large numbers, the elite Russians there who were gathered in that trench behind, ready to shoot at you. They're the ones who got hit by the Dragon drone. Yeah, them. And then the guys who were...
who also entered our position got hit by the Baba Yaga. That's really the ingenuity, I'd say, of our commanders, who tell us we're going to do a mission in the gray zone. In such a way, you will use a step, and it worked very well, there are results. So that's it, I trust them. You give the stats of what you...
Cool results, I estimate about 20.
30 Russians who got taken out. Well, this whole thing still costs me a lot.
Yeah, when you were 70 meters from the Russians,
For,
you dropped your bag to run faster, right? Yeah, then they blew themselves up.
by the Ukrainian Baba Yaga, so Team Berlioz again had
Funded 2 night vision goggles for your team. Yeah, well, there was only one left. There are 2 again. That's 6,000 euros. A life-saving device, as they say. But I'm really sorry, but you know, when I...
left. I didn't think about my backpack at all. We didn't think about it at all. Shot at by the Russians. So the community, you have a...
The Berlioz team funded this equipment again through the fundraiser. The soldiers decide how to use the money themselves. You got 2 vehicles and 3 night vision goggles. So the backpacks, jammers, all that, that's your donation. And of course, all the other teams here benefit from it as well. We'll make videos with them soon. Next, there are civilian collections for electrical equipment, demining gear and medical supplies. And you can buy nice patch glasses to help fund medical stabilizers. And there are different types of patches. For example, this one, Burn Moscow Again. I'll put all the links in the comments of this video. Congratulations on the work. Thank you to the whole
community. Congratulations.
for the work.
Thank you to the whole community.